All right, here we go. We are back on another Wisco Fanatics Wednesday. If you missed last night, we did our Packers first preview of the season. Very excited for that. All of our Packers recaps and previews are going to be on Tuesday nights this year. We moved it so that it's earlier in the week so people can hear our thoughts earlier in the week without having to wait all the way until Friday. And it also gives people time to listen to our thoughts from the previous week and get our previews for the upcoming week and have, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday to listen to it as opposed to only Saturday. So last night was our preview for Packers-Eagles. Today we are recapping the last 8 Milwaukee Brewers games. We've had 8 games since last Wednesday. 2 against the Giants, 4 against the Reds, and 2 against the Cardinals. So we're going to recap those. We're also going to go through our underrated performers and power pairs as well. I was also asked if we could do a Rookie of the Year segment and kind of where we're standing with that. I know Churio for Rookie of the Year is picking up a lot of steam. So we're going to talk about that before we get into those recaps. And then Mike is going to join us, and we are going to go through the Badgers win against Western Michigan. So a lot of stuff to cover today. Let's get going.
Welcome to another live episode of the Wisco Fanatics Show, where we discuss the Packers, Bucks, Brewers, Badgers football, and basketball from an optimistic perspective. Wisco Fanatics is brought to you by Cardboard Legacy, Wisconsin's most complete sports card shop. Buy, sell, grade, and consign all at their location in Oshkosh.
All right, so as I mentioned, tons of Brewers stuff to get to today. Again, if you want our Packers thoughts, that was last night. That you can find on YouTube, on Facebook, and everywhere you get podcasts so you can rewatch and re-listen. Today we are doing Brewers and Badgers, and then if you are interested in helping us out, helping us further our dream of making our show our full-time jobs, Friday night we are doing a Patreon watch party for the Packers game that will include a 30-minute pregame show where we get all dressed up and we make it look like we're in the studio and everything, and then we watch the game together, and then we do a post-game show as well. So if you're interested, check us out on Patreon. Just search Wisco Fanatics and join us for $5 a month. It's just one of those things that if we can get enough people signed up for it, it'll get us to a point where we can quit our full-time jobs and Wisco Fanatics will become our careers. So that is our goal. That's what we're trying to do, and it would be really great to be able to have the voice of some of the other people who are famous on some of the social medias for the work that they do, and have platforms that, quite frankly, we think maybe they don't deserve because of the way that they carry themselves. So we would like to be the anti of that and carry ourselves with class and respect, and as obviously optimism and realism. So that's us, but let's get into our Brewers discussions. We have lots to get through today. So, Jake, I'm going to start with our power pair and underrated performer this week because your guy is going to be the subject of our next segment. So, my power pair this week is Willy Adames. He is 10 for 31 over the last week. That's a .323 batting average. He had 10 hits in the last week. 5 of them were home runs, and he also had a double. 6 of his 10 hits in the last week were for extra bases. He also drove in 12 runs in that stretch and scored 7 runs. Also, last night he did extend his hitting streak to 12. I have a thought on that when we get to last night's game in the recaps. For my power pitcher, I went with Aaron Ashby. He's been fantastic since coming in from the bullpen back from Nashville. In the last week, he threw 6 innings pitched, 2 hits, 1 walk, 7 strikeouts, and no runs. If he did that as the start, that would be fantastic. We would be raving about that start.
Yep.
And then for my underrated performer, I went with Bryce Terang. Not super crazy numbers over the last week, but he does have hits in 6 of his last 8 games. So we knew that Bryce Terang was kind of struggling at the plate for a little while in July and parts of August, but he's starting to turn around, it seems. And SIS Baseball had their Defensive Player of the Month, and they named 4 Milwaukee Brewers as co-Defensive Players of the Month, and that was Bryce Terang, Sal Frelick, Garrett Mitchell, and Joey Ortiz collectively were named their Defensive Player of the Month.
Nice.
So hit me with your power pair and underrated performer, and then let's talk Rookie of the Year.
I like that little tidbit you gave, man. Good info. So we had to split them up because last night we were talking. I was like, hey, you're not getting both. I'm not getting both. We got to split them up. So first one, my power pair is none other than Action Jackson Churio. I mean, that guy is just – this kid is incredible, dude. He's going to be the guy for the Brewers like Giannis is for the Bucks. And the number of players we have for the Packers where we run out of superlatives and ways to explain how good he is at the sport that he plays. And Churio is already showing that at the ripe age of 20 years old. This last week, 11 of 28, 7 runs, 4 doubles, 3 home runs, 10 RBIs, 6 walks, only 4 strikeouts, and a stolen base. He does everything. He does it with a smile. He does it with moxie. He's incredible, dude. The confidence that this guy plays with. That's a 393 average, 500 on base percentage, an 857 slug, and a 1.357 OPS. So over 1,000 on the OPS, which is insanity. My power pitcher, I went with DL Hall. So this was actually a revelation, something that I think that he needed very badly, something that I needed the fan base needed very badly. Not that Joey Ortiz wasn't enough for the Burns trade, but adding in DL Hall, having a great start in August as we hit the end of the season. We're under 30 games now. We're creeping towards the 20 game mark here. But just a great start for him. 7 innings pitched, 4 hits, 0 earned runs, 1 walk, which is very key for him. He's had some control issues. We knew that coming in. 5 Ks. He got a win and a quality start. This is the first game in his career where he has pitched past the 6th inning and his first ever scoreless outing. It's his 6th start this season and 7th overall. So he's still very, very young, still early into his career. I know he's been a Brewer technically this entire year, but he was injured for a while. So he was able to get some coaching, see some things, and hopefully they're able to just make another one, because that's just what we do. We just pump out pitchers at this point. And my underrated performer, I went with Garrett Mitchell. 7 of 18, 6 runs, a double, a triple, 2 home runs, 3 RBIs, 3 walks, and 3 stolen bases. He was tremendous this last week after he was on the struggle bus for a few weeks there, but he turned it around. He still has the great plate discipline, still has the speed, playing defense. 389 average, 476 on base, 889 slug, and a 1.365 OPS, so over 1,000 for him as well. So the Brewers' offense and pitching was tremendous this week. Obviously, you could tell by the win total, but it was very, very good stuff from the Brewers this week.
That's a really good pick. Okay, so your power pair position player was Jackson Chourio. Now, Dennis Day Jr. asked on the one of the win graphics from last week if I could cover Jackson Chourio and where he stands for the Rookie of the Year race. Now, if we look at the entirety of 2024, which is, what some people are going to do, which is understandable, Jackson Chourio is kind of in the mix. He's probably somewhere in like the 3 to 5 range behind Jackson Merrill and Paul Skeens. But if we look at it, I looked at the numbers over the last 7 days, the last 2 weeks, the last 3 weeks, since August 1st, and since the All-Star break. It paints a much different picture from where we are after the All-Star break as where we are in the entirety of the season. Now, we have seen examples of a guy like Christian Yelich who uses a crazy second half to win an award. Mm-hmm. So if we're doing that, we can look at Jackson Chourio having a crazy second half to potentially win an award. So looking at Jackson Chourio versus Jackson Merrill in the last 7 days, Jake already gave Chourio's numbers at 393, 500, 857 for a 1357 OPS. In that time, 3 home runs, 4 doubles, 10 RBI, and 7 runs. In that same amount of time, Jackson Merrill, 273 batting average, 353, 545 slug for an 879 OPS. He has 2 home runs in the last week, no doubles, 4 RBI, and 2 runs scored. So last week, Edge Chourio. The last 2 weeks, Jackson Chourio, 370, 452 on base percentage, 741 slug for a 1,192 OPS in the last 2 weeks. The last 2 weeks, he has 4 home runs, 6 doubles, 16 RBI, and 11 runs scored. That's in 2 weeks, dude. Now, in that time, Jackson Merrill has a 306 batting average, 346 on base, 571 slug for a 918 OPS. Those are really nice numbers, but they don't compare to Jackson Chourio's.
They do not.
In that time, the last 2 weeks, he has 4 home runs. That number does compare. 1 double, 10 RBI, and 6 runs scored. Jackson Chourio across the board has better numbers than Jackson Merrill in the last week and in the last 2 weeks. In the last 3 weeks, Jackson Chourio is batting 333 with a 412 on base, a 680 slug for a 1092 OPS. He has 5 home runs in that stretch, 7 doubles, 19 RBI and 13 runs scored. So he's essentially giving you 2 runs, about 6 RBI, a double, and a home run every single week over the last 3 weeks of the season. In that time, Jackson Merrill's batting .319, 347 on base, 594 slug for a 941 OPS. Again, those are nice numbers to go with 4 home runs, 3 doubles, 15 RBI, and 9 runs scored. Jackson Chourio, still better across the board. And then if we go back to August 1st, Jackson Chourio batting .325 with a .396 on-base percentage, 593 slug for a 983 OPS. 7 home runs, 8 doubles, 25 RBI, and 21 runs scored since August 1st.
Damn.
Jackson Merrill's batting .308, 345 on base, a 636 slug for a 980 OPS. Almost as him there. Has 8 home runs. That's 1 more than Chourio. Has 5 doubles and 3 triples. So he does have a little bit of an edge if you add in triples. The same number of RBI. And Chourio has 2 more runs scored since August 1st.
Mm-hmm.
So if you open the sample size up a little bit, as far as the month of August is concerned, it's a little closer. But yes, Brandon, a 400 on base percentage is crazy. If you go back to the All-Star break, this is since the All-Star break. Jackson Chourio's batting .341.
Damn.
He has a .393 on base percentage, a .616 slug for a 1,009 on or OPS since the All-Star break. He has 10 home runs, 11 doubles, 34 RBI, and 30 runs scored since the All-Star break. Jackson Merrill is batting .320, has a .350 on base, a .620 slug that is 4 points higher than Chourio's. So we're talking 4 1,000ths higher than Chourio's, and has a .970 OPS, which is 39 points below where Chourio is. He has 9 home runs. That's 1 less than Chourio. He has 10 doubles. That's 1 less than Chourio. He has 33 RBI, which is 1 less than Chourio. And he has 28 runs scored, which is 2 less than Chourio. So since the All-Star break, average, Chourio, on-base percentage, Chourio, slugging, very slightly Merrill. OPS, convincingly Chourio. Home runs, Chourio by 1. Doubles, Chourio by 1. RBI, Chourio by 1, and runs scored, Chourio by 2. So if you go since the All-Star break, Jackson Chourio is playing better than Jackson Merrill. Now, I will give the caveat that Jackson Merrill has more triples, and he has been good in late-game situations. Chourio has made some clutch hits as well, but Jackson Merrill has what do they call it, the high leverage. He's got 6 go-ahead or game-winning hits in however much time. So, it is what it is. But if these trends that I just broke down from the last 7, 14, 21, since August 1st, and since the All-Star break days, the trends should absolutely have Chourio at the top.
I agree.
And if it's a power rankings thing, Chourio should absolutely be at the top. Now, as far as betting is concerned, I would still probably lean with Merrill over Chourio and probably Skeens over Chourio because of the entire body of work. But we still have September to go yet.
I don't understand why they don't have separate awards for pitchers and positional players.
We talked about that.
Yeah,
we've had that conversation 2 weeks ago, I think.
It makes no sense.
Do a rookie Cy Young and just find a pitcher who had a really great rookie year, name the award after him, and have a rookie pitching MVP award.
Yeah, because then Skeens wouldn't be in it. You could have Inamaga and Skeens versus each other. That could be a whole discussion point for baseball right there. Just upping the media right there. So, I mean.
I have numbers for you.
Oh, let's do it.
I have Skeens, Imanaga, and I have Tobias Myers in this conversation just to compare the numbers and just kind of give the lay of the land. So, Skeens, he's unreal. He's really, really good.
Yeah,
Brandon said, I'm surprised Pitts hasn't shut Skeens down. He's a rookie. They don't really have a reason to shut down rookies, especially for a team that I don't think is going to be competing next year either. Let him sell
some tickets.
Jinx. So Skeens over the last 2 weeks, I did for the starting pitchers, I gave them a little bit of a bigger sample size. So I just did the last 2 weeks since August 1st and since the All-Star break for Skeens, Imanaga, and Myers. Now, over the last 2 weeks, Paul Skeens has a 1.13 ERA, 21 strikeouts, 6 walks, and a 193 opponent batting average.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Brandon said they need something to play for. Their thing that they're playing for is watching Paul Skeens pitch.
Yep, that's it.
Imanaga over the last 2 weeks is a 3.46 ERA, 11 strikeouts, 3 walks, and a 170 opponent batting average. Tobias Myers is a little bit higher because his last outing wasn't great, but he has a 4.30 ERA, 16 strikeouts, which is more than Imanaga, 7 walks, and a 2.98 opponent batting average. So Myers' stats in the last 2 weeks, not quite so great, but the bigger the sample size, the closer these numbers get. Since August 1st, Paul Skeens has a 2.70 ERA, 39 strikeouts, 14 walks, and a 2.08 opponent batting average. In that same time, Shota Imanaga has a 3.68 ERA with 37 strikeouts and only 6 walks. So his strikeout to walk ratio is very good, but his ERA is a little high, and a 2.28 opponent batting average. Since August 1st, Tobias Myers has a 2.76 ERA with 28 strikeouts, 9 walks, and a 2.56 opponent batting average. There is a conversation that could be had that since August 1st, Tobias Myers has been better than Shota Imanaga. There's a case to be made there. Same with since the All-Star break. Paul Skeens has a 2.42 ERA, 53 strikeouts, 17 walks, and a 200 opponent batting average. Those are fantastic numbers. He's really good. Shota Imanaga since the All-Star break has a 3.47 ERA, 50 strikeouts and 7 walks. It's a very good ratio. And a 2.12 opponent batting average. Since the All-Star break, Tobias Myers is a 2.79 ERA, 39 strikeouts, 12 walks, and a 2.55 opponent batting average. So he's giving up more walks than Imanaga and giving up more hits, but his ERA is almost a half a point lower.
That's pretty good. That's a lot.
So I'm not saying that Tobias Myers should be above Shota Imanaga in any sort of rookie of the year race, but I mean Tobias Myers should have some respect put on his name. He's pitching really well, and it's not that he's, like I said, I'm not saying that he needs to be above either of these guys in a rookie of the year conversation, but he should be in the conversation. So that's where we stand. Dennis, you asked. I've given the numbers. That's where we stand on rookie of the year. So we'll go from there. We'll see if those trends continue, which we hope they do, because if Jackson Trio continues to make an impact in September the way that he did in August and in July, they're not going to have a choice. And team success factors into this. The Padres are on a really hot streak from July and August. They've been one of the best teams since the All-Star break, but the Brewers are like 4th best. It's like Diamondbacks, Brewers, Astros, and then Brewers, Diamondbacks, Padres, Diamondbacks, Astros, Brewers. I think is the.
I think Padres have the best record.
Yeah, I think it's Padres, Diamondbacks, Astros, Brewers is the best record.
The Astros aren't there too, which is annoying.
I think that's what it is. But I mean, if we're talking about it, like Churrio's team is going to win a division. Now, if the Padres win the division, then I'm fine. But the Brewers are going to have a better team record, so if MVP is an award that goes to the best player on the best team, Rookie of the Year could be an award that goes to the best rookie on the best team.
Well, you got to look at it, man. I know that Willie Adames is on a heater right now, and Contreras has his ups and downs, but who's really been the consistent guy with both those guys over the last couple of months? It's been Jackson Chourio.
Now, the Padres have been playing without Tatis. Tatis is back. We'll see if that affects Jackson Merrill at all. But the Brewers lost Christian Yelich. He's done.
Yep.
And Brandon asked the question, where is this team without Chourio versus Merrill with the Padres? And that's a question you can ask too. If you take both of them away, where are you? And honestly, that's not a question that I want to answer as a Brewers fan. Because Chourio, he's given a lot of excitement of the second half of the season. Obviously, like Jake said, Willie Adames is a huge part of it. Mm-hmm. But Jackson Chourio, he's not playing like the best rookie in the National League. He's playing like the best player, period, in the National League in the second half of the season.
Yeah, he is.
Okay, so let's go into the Giants game, and we have 8 Brewers games to talk about. So let's get running on these. Let's go to the Giants from last Wednesday. What stood out to you from last Wednesday's game 2 against the Giants?
All right. So first and foremost, got to give a shout out to my man Freddie. We talked about it last week. I'm going to continue to talk about it. He needs to keep stacking these good starts heading into September, as we are here now. He pitched last night, obviously. We will talk about that when we get there. Dennis, I don't disagree. That's why I said it's been Chourio, Adames, Chourio, Contreras. See, I agree with that. Chourio
listen, Dennis, I'm going to amend your sentence a little bit here. Chourio has been more consistent than anybody in the National League.
Yeah.
For the second half of the season.
Yeah.
Outside of maybe Shohei Ohtani, which is insane, the fact that he's in the conversation with where guys like Shohei Ohtani and Mookie Betts and Francisco Lindor are right now.
Yeah.
Because he's 20 years old.
Yeah. Yeah, I forgot about Lindor. Everybody kind of forgets about him, even though he's in New York. But back to the game here. He plays for the Mets, the team that people forget about.
Exactly. Yeah. If they get into a playoff spot, they'll be loud again.
I think they will make a playoffs this year. 6 innings pitched, 2 hits, 0 earned runs, 3 walks, and 8 Ks. So by far one of his best starts in recent memory. Trevor McGill comes in. He gives up a run, 2 hits. As the Giants get later into this game, Koenig gave a couple runs, but then Payamps just completely shuts the door for his 17th hole of the season, and Devin Williams gets a save, number 6. People with RBIs in this game: Perkins, Contreras, Chourio, 2 for Perkins. He also got his 10th double in this one. Contreras got his 18th home run and 76th RBI in this game. Brewers were 3 for 9 runners in scoring position. Now I need to talk about something. 2 things, actually. One thing is, after Peralta got out of the jam in the 6th inning, he let out a massive scream. And it was a well-earned scream. It was something where it felt like all of his frustrations from previous starts was coming out in one motion. And I was so happy for him watching that. I was like, you deserve this moment, Freddie. For everything that people have said about you, people have been dragging your name in the mud, you deserve this moment. And I was happy for him.
Can we stay on the subject of Freddie Peralta really quick?
Yeah, what's up?
Because I want to talk about him as well. He looked really sharp. He was pitching this game like an ace.
Mm-hmm.
He ended his 105-pitch gem with a strikeout and a changeup, which was beautiful execution. Mm-hmm. So for him to finish 6 innings pitched, only 2 hits, 3 walks, 8 strikeouts, I wanted to give you this number. His ERA is down 41 points since August 12th.
Wow.
So essentially the last 3 weeks, he's lowered his ERA by 41 points. Now, since the All-Star break, we are getting second half Freddie Peralta. We are getting the Freddie Peralta we wanted to see in the second half. He's a 2.78 ERA and a 1.17 whip with 42 strikeouts and 20 walks. The walks are still a little high, but a 2.78 ERA from Freddie Peralta in the second half and a 1.17 whip, that is ace-level pitching.
Yes, it is. But he was fantastic. I thought his fastball was actually his best pitch. He threw 55 of them. The fastball was working really good for him. He threw 19 sliders, 19 changeups, and 12 curveballs. So, in my opinion, mixing up the slider, changeup, and curveball, however ratio you want to do that, you need to mix it up a little bit so the fastball looks a little bit better. He had command of all those pitches, made the fastball look a little bit better, and that's where you get a really good quality start, 6 innings and no earned runs. So, very good job by him. I love reading quotes from Murphy. That's become something that I've really just honed in on this year. He's just got away with words. He's just an old school guy, but he's also still hip. He's like the cool grandpa, in my opinion. He said after the game, we weren't great offensively except for that one little stretch, but he said Contreras put an exclamation point on it. And I was like, how does this guy always know what to say? He was like, listen, you guys can improve. You guys weren't great all day, but good job, William. You put an exclamation point on it, and that's all we needed. And the pitching carried us the rest of the way. So I was like, I love it.
Yeah. The infield defense was really good as well. Between Adames and Ortiz and Monasterio, Adames turned 2 really great double plays. Joey Ortiz, he was given an error, but I think it should have been a single. That was a really long throw to make in a really short amount of time. And Monasterio, good defense at second base. Now the offense with Blake Perkins in the 2-hole, single, walk, and a double off the wall.
Love it.
Really great job there. You mentioned William Contreras. His home run was an absolute nuke. 435 feet, 112.1 miles an hour off the bat. That is insane. And to go from a point where the Giants pitcher was cruising for a while.
He was.
And then the Brewers put 5 runs up with 2 outs, contributing to their major league lead with 2 out runs. Lastly, seeing the way that McGill and Koenig were managed in this game, and then Payamps as well for the bullpen. McGill was brought in the 7th inning to face a right-handed hitter, and then they brought in Koenig in the 8th to face the left-handed hitting leadoff hitter for the Giants, and gave up 2 runs with 2 outs. It is what it is. Yoa Payamps got back to another scoreless inning and threw some really nasty sliders. So you love to see that. Other than that, let's go to Game 3. What stood out to you from Game 3?
So Game 3 was awesome. I got to talk shit to one of my coworkers who's a Giants fan. At one point during the day, I'm listening on my phone. Not watching, boss. If you're watching this, I was not watching the game. I was listening.
Nice.
I may have watched a little bit. Brewers ended up winning this one 6-0. Savali was absolutely tremendous in this one. 7 innings pitched, 2 hits, 0 earned runs, 2 walks, and 7 Ks. I mean, Aaron Savali he's turning a corner. He's turning into a pretty damn good weapon for the Brewers. Aaron Ashby was phenomenal in this one. He's been absolutely on a tear for the last month plus, if you include his AAA numbers, which we included last week in our breakdown. We gave you those numbers from AAA, and then to continue that for the Brewers, just go from Nashville to Milwaukee and be like, hey, this is just business. I go up here left-handed with some swag, and I strike everybody out. That's what I do. He was awesome. He had 4 of the 5 fastest pitches in the game.
Oh.
He had the 5th fastest at 97.9. Then there was the 4th fastest. Then he had the 3rd fastest at 98.1, 2nd fastest at 98.2, and the 1st at 98.9. The man is abusing the radar gun lately. He was awesome. The 11th shutout for the Brewers this year got them to tie for 7th in MLB with shutouts. And the shit talk that I talked to my coworker, I said, how come the Giants have a top 10 payroll but play like a bottom 10 team? I'm just wondering.
That's funny. There was a lot of people complaining after the Brewers lost the first game of the series to a bottom 10 team.
Shocker.
Well, couldn't just wait for the last 2 games of the series to play out and for the Brewers to win 2 out of 3.
Oh.
Garrett Mitchell hit a home run in the bottom of the 2nd inning. He needed that. Really great, smooth swing. 103 miles an hour off the bat. Love to see that.
Yep.
The Giants starting pitcher, 22 pitches in the 1st inning, 26 pitches in the 2nd inning. We talked about this last week. Like, if you are an opposing pitcher, you have to just be dreading facing the Brewers because you know they're going to try to drive up your pitch count. Yeah, and if you try to throw a lot of stuff in the zone, they're going to bang you around. So, like, the Brewers, whether you want to admit it or not, whether you're optimistic or pessimistic about it, the Brewers are a tough lineup.
Yeah, they are.
And they're like this 1 through 9. Like, the Brewers are among the league leaders, if not number 1 in batting average from the 7 through 9 spot in the batting order.
Mm-hmm. So
it's top to bottom that the Brewers are doing this, where they're making starting pitchers work really hard. So throwing a lot of pitches. Aaron Savali, the starter, he had a few base runners that he allowed, but he had 6 strikeouts through 3 innings pitched. Finished with 7 strikeouts. He did really well. He was fantastic in this game. His biggest difference from his short start against Oakland was first pitch strikes.
Mm-hmm.
Against the Oakland A's, he threw 8 first pitch strikes to 20 batters.
Mm-hmm.
In this game against the Giants, he threw 16 first pitch strikes against 22 batters. So very, very big difference there for Aaron Savali. Might be something that I keep a closer eye on in his starts to see if that correlates really strongly with how well he pitches. But his cutter was brilliant. He threw 22 of them. 4 of them were called for strikes. 5 of them were swung at and missed. 18 total strikes out of those 22 pitches. His 4-seam fastball, he threw 15 of them. 13 of those were strikes.
Damn.
So his velocity and his spin were around his season average. The difference in this game for him was the location. And then we get to Aaron Ashby. His fastball, curveball combo looks great. We are seeing the command that we wanted to see when he was a starter, when he was first brought here. And Michael brought up about giving Tobias Myers an extension. I would give Tobias Myers the same extension we gave Aaron Ashby today. And I'm going to talk about this again in a minute when we get to another Aaron Ashby appearance. But he threw 25 pitches. 19 of them were strikes. His velocity was up significantly. The sinker, that's his fastball, was up 3.7 miles per hour. His curveball was up 2.9 miles per hour. His changeup was up 3 miles an hour, and his slider was up 2.4 miles an hour from his season average. Also, curveball spin. Aaron Ashby has the 60th highest curveball spin rate in Major League Baseball. There are 315 measured players for curveball spin rate. Aaron Ashby is in the top 19% of Major League Baseball in curveball spin rate.
Oh, my God.
So if he's throwing, like Jake said, some of the top velocities in games that he's appearing in with one of the best curveballs in baseball, he's a top 20% curveball in baseball. I think Aaron Ashby's role might be a little defined here.
Man, maybe some people owe him an apology if he continues this streak, honestly.
Maybe. So let's go into the doubleheader game. We had the 4-game series that was supposed to be 3 because Cincinnati doesn't have a roof on their stadium, so we had to play 2 games on Friday. Of course, the first one goes into extra innings. But let's go into game 1 of that doubleheader. What stood out to you from the first one?
Yeah, we get into a doubleheader situation, right? And of course, the first one of the doubleheader goes into extras. It was like, this is just like you knew when this game started. You're like, yeah.
Baseball guys are like, hey, you know what would be funny?
Yeah, it was like that moment in SpongeBob. You know what's funnier than 24? 25. But anyways, back on track here as we're not children. Colin Ray was okay in this one. He's allowed.
The Reds made him work.
And the Reds are a team that. And just wait till after the last game of the series. I'm gonna have something to tell y'all, because some of you need a reality check, okay? But we'll get there in a second. So the Brewers did win this one, but Colin Ray got banged around a little bit. After Colin Ray got banged around, the opportunities for the Reds to score were about as slim as you could get, honestly. The bullpen did their fucking thing, dude. And the thing that makes this team so tough is they could just be like, you know what, we're gonna pitch these 5 guys today, and they just go shut you down. And then Murphy can go, pushed all those buttons on that side yesterday. Let's push the buttons on this side today. See what happens. And then they shut you down. You're just like, fuck. No chance. Fuck it. But the thing that we got to talk about is this is when Adames got on the heater, dude. Adames started his home run streak. He started an RBI barrage that he's still currently on right now. Contreras had an RBI. Frelick had 2 2-out RBIs. And the funniest thing to me is that we had a game-winning bunt. Now, perspective on that, because Tyler and I are not big fans of the bunt. The perspective on that was a quote from Murphy talking about, and I'm paraphrasing here. He said, usually on the road, you play for 2. And that is absolutely correct. He said on the road you play for 2, but in the situation we were in, with Devin being the one coming to the mound, we felt good about getting 1. So as I'm watching this game, I'm just like, they better score this damn run. That's all I knew. Now, Terang was safe on the bunt. That was a perfect bunt.
That's where I go with that. Because we've talked about bunting, and I said there are 4 guys on the Brewers that can bunt, and it's because they are capable of bunting for hits.
Yeah.
And at the time that I said that, it was Terang, Yelich, Frelick, and Perkins.
Perkins, okay.
So now with Yelich out for the season, I would substitute Garrett Mitchell. I would allow Garrett Mitchell to bunt because those guys are capable of bunting for hits. So when I brought those guys up as guys that I'm okay with bunting, it's because their batting average on bunts is over 300. That was my cutoff number when I made that list of 4 players. So if you are successful at it and you can get on base by doing it and you're not just making it out for the sake of making it out, then I will allow it.
Well, then the other thing about that is especially a guy like Terang, who's so good this year, especially hitting the other way. Now having the bunt in your bag allows you to still hit the other way. That's like a tool, and it kind of works off each other. It's like in basketball. If you have a hook move, right? You have a hook shot. They start taking away a hook shot. You give them a poke fake. You give them an up and under, right? That's the counter move off of the hook shot if they try to take that away. So in baseball, it's the same thing. If you're good at hitting the other way and you can bunt, that's what makes him so successful. Plus, he's a guy that has 40 stolen bases now. So when he gets on the base paths, they don't want you on there because you're not staying at first base very long.
Right.
And it was just a great bunt, a great call by Murphy to call that all the way around. And Williams got a little hairy in this save, but he got the job done. So at the end of the day, if you're going to bitch about it, whatever, I don't care. Keep it to yourself. He got the save. That's all I give a shit about. He got the damn job done. I don't care how the job gets done. He could have thrown 80 pitches. If nobody scores when we win the game, I'm just like, hell yeah, dude, let's go. We got to win. Good first week.
Colin Ray had to throw 88 pitches, and it's because, like I said, the Reds made him work. They fouled off 25 pitches.
Jeez.
That's rude. That's damn near uncalled for. To foul off 25 pitches. That's like over a quarter of his pitches, essentially.
Yeah.
That's about, call it probably 28, 29% of the pitches that he threw, the Reds fouled off. So the Reds made him work. So he had to grind through it, but the Brewers obviously got the win, so it is what it is there. Willy Adames, according to Baseball Reference, after this game, became the first Brewers shortstop ever to have multiple 25 home run seasons. So love that. Rhys Hoskins was robbed of a game-tying home run in the top of the third inning. We've talked about Rhys Hoskins, that he's hitting the ball well. Like, he's hitting the ball hard. He's hitting the ball to the fences. Mm-hmm. I really, truly feel that Rhys Hoskins is this close to going on a hot streak. I really, truly feel it.
It's happening in October, dude.
Dude,
he's gonna.
I will allow like the baseball gods to continue letting Rhys Hoskins bat 214 for the rest of September if he bats like 285 and hits home runs like once a game in October.
It's gonna happen, and it's gonna happen against the Phillies. Watch this shit, dude. The baseball gods have a sense of humor this year. I feel it, dude.
That would be something.
That would be something.
Okay. Also, William Contreras having a smoking hot August. He finished August with a 295 batting average, a 398 on base, 648 slug for a 1046 OPS in the month of August. Contreras had a really, really good August.
Yeah.
Which is good because he struggled in June and July. So
he did.
Good to have him back on track. Brian Hudson, Jake, you already mentioned the bullpen did really well. Just wanted to go through them individually really quick. Brian Hudson, 2 really quick scoreless innings. He has done 2+ innings 15 times so far up to this point. And 0.28 ERA.
Wow.
He is in 31 2/3 innings pitched, a 0.28 ERA. That's crazy low numbers. Now, when we get to last night's game, we'll talk about Brian Hudson and the moves the Brewers made because there's a lot of people freaking out that don't need to be, which I will say, thankfully, most Brewers fans, I will say the majority this time, did understand it. So I'm thankful for that. But we'll talk about it a little more in depth when we get to that game. Yoel Payamps did a really great job focusing on the guy at the plate to paint strikes and get a strikeout on the fastball. So Yoel Payamps comes into this game in the 7th inning, gives up a double. The bobbled cutoff allows him to get to third base, and this is where we are with 2 outs. Is Elly De La Cruz on third base, and Yoel Payamps pitching. Completely disregards Elly De La Cruz and goes and gets a great strikeout. I love that. I know I've talked about it. I believe it was Colin Ray's last time he pitched against the Reds about not focusing on Elly De La Cruz dancing around on the bases because then he threw a ball into center field. Just focus on the guy at the plate, especially if there's 2 outs. And Yoel Payamps did that, so I wanted to give him some credit for it. Then Trevor McGill comes in the bottom of the 9th and just throwing nothing but gas.
Yeah.
And then in the 10th, like you said, we get Devin Williams, who did a really good job, I think, mixing up his pitches against Elly De La Cruz, got him to strike out. and then got a pop out, and then with 2 outs had a walk and a wild pitch, but finishes an 11 pitch at bat with a fly out. That's a good battle for Devin Williams to win there. Okay, game 2 of the doubleheader on Friday night. Gotta say, DL Hall made Pat Murphy look like an absolute genius, because Pat Murphy was asked about it in the pregame, and the reporters during the game were talking about Pat Murphy said they were going to go for the win, and they went for it. They emptied the pen in the first game, and they're the commentators are talking about it. And they're like, yeah, if DL Hall has a rough start, he might just have to eat one. And DL Hall's like, Pat, I got you. And he was rolling through this game. 61 pitches to go through the first 5 innings, 70 pitches to get through 6 innings. He did fantastic job to work on the outside edge against right-handed hitters. Did a really good job with multiple pitches. His pitch counts by inning 10, 20, 7, 15, 9, 9, 13. That is great work from DL Hall. His fastball velocity was up 1.4 miles an hour. His slider velocity was up 1.5 miles an hour. He threw 83 pitches. 60 of them were strikes. He had the top win probability added for this game at 39.4%. His spin and break were normal. This was just a fantastic game by DL Hall. And if this is a glimpse of what he's capable of, the Brewers absolutely win the Corbin Burnes trade.
They won it already.
I agree with you. Dennis said, hopefully Hall has turned the corner. I mean, I don't even think that there was a corner that he needed to turn. I think he just needed experience. He only pitched a really little bit and then was hurt. So, I mean, he just needed time. He just needed experience. And it just so happens that a team trying to get a guy time and experience also is competing for a top 2 record in the National League. So that's going on. But I want to ask this question, because the top of the first inning, why is Jake Bauers squaring to bunt?
Because
I don't get angry often, but I seriously, in all caps, wrote in my notebook, why the F is Jake Bauers bunting?
Because he's struggling. He wanted to make contact with the ball.
Dude.
That's my opinion.
That's not the way to go about it. Jake, you were brought here to hit power. Squaring a bunt, that's no. And I've given credit to Jake Bauers for his base running, but he's not a speed guy. He's not bunting for a single, and we're in the first inning of the game. That rubbed me the wrong way. And I don't get like that very often, but bunting is one of those things that gets me fired up. And when we're talking about our cleanup guy, bunting, that does not Mama the Mia.
It does not Mama the Mia.
But, okay, we have to talk about Garrett Mitchell.
Let's go.
The crazy speed that he showed in the top of the 4th inning to score on a sharp ground ball to the infield that bounced, of course, right to Ellie De La Cruz. For him to score on that, fantastic. Fantastic for Garrett Mitchell to score on that. That was 106 exit velocity, a home run that he hit in the top of the 6th inning. I wanted to say, between these 2 games, this doubleheader, Garrett Mitchell showed all 5 tools. Garrett Mitchell showed that he has true 5-tool player potential. And yes, we're still talking about Garrett Mitchell's potential because he's played like 120 career games. So I'm still talking about potential for Garrett Mitchell. He showed all 5 tools in these 2 games.
He's like the Christian Watson of the Brewers, in my opinion, where it's like we haven't seen the full potential of Watson. We know Watson's had moments. He's had good games. Just like Mitchell's had good games. He's had moments as well. He's shown that he could rob home runs. He could hit home runs. He could steal bases. He could do it all, right? We've talked about this before. But in my opinion, I think that's a great comparison.
I understand
maybe other Wisconsin sports fans should take that approach as well. That these guys are just oozing with potential, and the Brewers are just trying to get every ounce of it out. So
yeah. Okay. A couple more things. Joe Ross coming out of the bullpen. Since he made that move to the bullpen, he has a .69 ERA.
fucking nice, dude. Fucking nice.
He's got 13 innings pitched, 8 hits, only 1 earned run, 3 walks, and 11 Ks. Between that, his sinker was hitting his glove side corner regularly. It was perfect. He was doing a really good job. Big fan of that. Looking at teammates to hit home runs in both games of a doubleheader, the only other 2 in Milwaukee Brewers history, according to Mike Vasallo, were Robin Yount and Rob Deere on June 23rd, 1989.
It's a long time ago. Yeah, so there was a lot to unpack from this game. The 9th inning got absolutely laughable. That was just a circus show. If you're a Reds fan, dude, you got to just be playing the circus music, not even listening to the commentators anymore, because they were probably talking about walking their dogs and stuff at that point. I don't know what they were talking about, but good pull on Joe Ross. I was going to talk about him as well because I talked about DL Hall a little extended in the power pair section, so I wanted to give Joe Ross some love. So appreciate that. Everybody else should give Joe Ross some love too. He's been tremendous since moving to the bullpen. The Brewers had 8 players with RBIs.
Love that.
8 fucking players with RBIs. Dude, I told you last week, these are my favorite games when I have to write this much for pitching, and then I got to write this much for the hitting. And I'm like, oh, yeah, we spanked that ass, dude. 14-0, that is the definition of an ass whooping.
Yeah.
Turned out to be the 12th shutout for the Brewers this year for their pitching staff.
It was 5th in August. They did 5 of them in August.
Yeah, they are now tied for 5th in all of baseball with the Padres, by the way. If they get 2 more, they'll be tied for 1st with Atlanta. Atlanta leads with 14, which is crazy.
And they have the Cy Young winner.
They do have the Cy Young winner. But Adames had 3 RBIs. Hoskins had 3 RBIs. Contreras had 2 RBIs. Frelick had 2 RBIs. Mitchell, Terang, Perkins, and Monasterio got in on the action. You said the stat about am I missing? Yes, I am missing. Nope.
That wasn't Contreras.
Not Contreras. Churio. My fault. Churio and Adames, you said the stat about them both homering in the doubleheader in back-to-back games, so that was tremendous. And just freaking the 9th inning, dude, was just funny, dude. Me and you were just playing games, watching the Brewers game, and you're just like, they scored again. They scored again. They scored 2 more runs. They scored again. The Brewers have 10, and I'm just like, why are they doing this? They're dead already.
They scored 6 of them off a position player, and it's just like, man, that's mean.
Yeah, but that was one of those situations where, like, when the position player gets in there, because we've had this moment before with the Brewers, and they're just up there taking home run derby swings.
Oh, yeah.
They're just like, this is coming in at like 75, and I'm just going to crank this thing. And they've had some fly balls, but finally, they were able to connect on some hits. So
I want to give a shout out to Vinny Rattino because he called Contreras's. He's like, Contreras is up there swinging for his 20th home run, and then Contreras hits his 20th home run. So I had to text Vinny the day after, and I'm like, good call, and Contreras is swinging for 20 home run. Anything else from game 2? Or are you ready to go to game 3?
Let's go to game 3.
All right. So game 3, Frankie Montas, pretty normal start. His velocity and spin were pretty much on par. Threw 97 pitches, 6 innings pitched, 7 hits, had 4 earned runs, 3 walks, 4 Ks. Jake talks about the walks a lot. 2 of the 3 that he had scored. So if you can limit that damage, we're potentially talking about, say, maybe a 2 earned run appearance. Dennis said he doesn't know what was funnier, that 9th inning or the comedy show he was at while that was going on. That's tough.
Probably the Brewers.
Another big thing here. Offense. Willie Adames with 2 runs on is the MVP. Another day, another 3-run home run. I made a graphic after this game on Saturday morning, and then I had to adjust it 2 more times. Because Willie Adames just keeps hitting 3-run home runs. Defensively, Blake Perkins just keeps not letting people hit home runs. So there's that defensively. Then we get to Jackson Churio. I'm going to do Jackson Churio, and then I'm going to talk about the bullpen. Jackson Churio, clutch home run. He's down 1-2 in the count and we are in the top of the 9th inning in a 4-4 game. He's down 1-2. Fouls off 2 pitches. He didn't chase 2 bad pitches, and then he took a pitch in the top outside corner to the opposite field. That was a big boy at bat by Jackson Chourio. To foul off 2 close pitches, ignore 2 bad pitches of a pitcher trying to get him, trying to get a 20-year-old to chase a bad pitch. He didn't. And then he takes a pitch on the upper outside corner of the strike zone and hits it out of the park for an opposite field home run.
Oppo taco for the win, dude. That's impressive.
That's big boy stuff to take an outside pitch out of the park for what became a game-winning home run.
Yeah.
So I'm going to talk about Devin Williams first because I want to end on a question for you about Aaron Ashby. So I'm going to go to Devin Williams first. Yes, he allowed 3 base runners, but people need to stop saying that he just doesn't have it or he has no feel for his fastball. I don't think people actually know what they're talking about when they make claims like that. People need to pump the brakes on it because he started the inning with a strikeout. The second out was a looking strikeout, and the first walk that he had to Stevenson, who is batting .330 in August. It was a close pitch, and you're not giving that guy a meatball.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that was potentially an intentional walk, but also intentionally not trying to give one of the hottest hitters in baseball at this point a pitch to hit in a 1-run game. And then he also walked Elly De La Cruz, who, in my opinion, you bet on Elly to beat himself. You don't leave a bunch of stuff over the middle of the strike zone. You throw him stuff that's close but not potentially in, and you say, hey, this guy's leading baseball in strikeouts. Maybe I can get him to strike out by pitching close to the zone but not in it. Because he's a guy that if you give him a pitch to hit, can end the game, not in a good way.
Very true.
Just want to throw this out there because I'm bringing this point up. When we get to Game 4, Elly De La Cruz's first 2 at-bats in Game 4, strikeouts. Just throwing that out there. He did have a hit by pitch. Unfortunate. He was up 0-2, was trying to get a chase.
Yeah.
I think the batter kind of leaned into it a little bit, honestly.
I think so too.
It was kind of part of his normal swinging motion, but when he bends his knees, like they get real close to the strike zone, and he kind of bent his knee into being hit by that pitch. So not super worried about that either, and I don't think it's something where people need to be like, he has no feel for his fastball. It just makes you sound like a douche.
Yep.
Last thing, Aaron Ashby. Another 2 scoreless inning appearance. Had 2 runners reach to start the 7th in a 4-4 game, and he drops a perfect curveball on Elly De La Cruz. Then a low changeup gets him to strike on a low curveball, then goes to the upper third with a 99-mile-an-hour fastball, and then a curveball in the same spot. That was great stuff by Aaron Ashby. So, my question, and I foreshadowed this a little bit, would you make Aaron Ashby a full-time reliever? And would you, at the contract the Brewers signed him to, consider making him a full-time reliever? He is signed for $4.1 million a year until 2027 with 2 team options for 2028 and 2029. My thoughts, if he's this good, I'm good. I'm cool with it. Let's just leave him there where he's successful.
Yeah. Really, the money is no factor to me. It's where he's going to be most successful, where he's going to help the team. At this point, it's almost laughable that the Brewers can literally just pluck any pitcher and just be like, hey, you're going to be good for like 6 months, and then we're going to get rid of you and not pay you, and then you're probably going to suck again. So, yeah, I would just leave him as a reliever. And if he's doing stuff like that to Elly De La Cruz, and he's definitely going to be a guy that we're going to need in the playoffs if we want to get to the goal that we want to get to. Because there's a guy who is left-handed who hits a lot of home runs who plays for the Dodgers. So having that lefty on lefty with a guy with the velocity that he has and good stuff by you. You brought up the spin rate that he has on the curveball. I mean, that combo right there is just going to nullify anything that Ohtani can do if he throws them for strikes. So, yes, I would leave him as a reliever, and yes, he is a massive weapon at this point.
And here's the thing. He was my power pitcher of the week. He's still giving you 6 innings a week.
Yeah.
Effectively. I mean, you're getting similar things out of him. It's just 6 innings as 2-2-2 instead of a 6-inning start.
Yeah.
All right. I'm glad you agree with me on that. Honestly, I don't think $4.1 million is a lot for a reliever anyways.
No.
So
especially if he's going to be elite like he is, right?
Exactly. Okay. What did you have from Game 3 of the Red Series?
Yeah, I had the same stuff on Montes. That's kind of what we paid for. He's going to have some really good starts. He's had some good starts for us, and he's had some average starts. That's just he's human.
Hasn't had anything like bad, so I mean,
yeah. I have to restart and say that this game was a nationally televised game, and this was a tremendous baseball game as a baseball fan. This was a really fun game. It was the Brewers take the lead, the Reds fight back, the Brewers take the lead again, and then the Reds are threatening, and it was just a really, really fun game.
This was like the first game that a new baseball fan had ever watched. Like, it's good for the game.
Yeah, I agree. And the way that I wrote down Adames' 3-run homer is I said, you might not believe me, but he hit another 3-run homer. Because I was like, you might not believe me, but he did it again.
Boy, do I have news for you.
And the funniest part about that 3-run homer is that was the one singular hit that the Brewers had with runners in scoring position. The Brewers were 1 for 15.
Oh.
He had the one hit with runners in scoring position in the first inning. I thought that was hilarious. I was like, wow, of course. Awesome. Baseball.
Right? Yeah.
But yeah, more on Churio, man. I just think that he has such good hands. And he just trusts his hands in any situation. He's able to stay back on the breaking stuff, on the slower stuff. He's able to speed them up. He's able to turn on inside pitches. I mean, obviously he has the power to opposite field. Now everybody hits homers at Great American Ballpark. But that point is not valid at this moment because this is a 20-year-old kid and a pressure cooker in this moment in time, and he succeeded. He was fantastic. Shout out to him. Again, I'm just going to sound redundant at this point about Devin Williams. He got the goddamn job done.
Yeah.
What are we bitching about? Who cares? I think he threw over 30 pitches, like 33 or something like that.
I thought it was 33, yeah.
Yeah. So 30-some pitches, I don't care. He got the job done. Brewers got the win. We win the first 3 games of this series, 2 of them being a doubleheader the day before. They haven't had a day off in over a week at this point, and they're just freaking mowing.
So we've had points in this season where people have complained as much as they have, and after this game, this was the 6th fewest games that it took for the Brewers to reach 80 wins.
Wow.
Franchise history, the 6th fastest that they've ever gotten to 80 wins in franchise history.
I like it.
They are exceeding basically everybody's predictions. Even our most optimistic predictions that we made, they are exceeding them.
Yeah. It's one of those I'll gladly be wrong situations, by the way, for us. So
especially if it's going in the good direction.
Yeah.
So let's go to Game 4 again, keeping that same thought in mind. Like they're at 80 wins in 136 games. They're 24 games over 500, going into the 4th game in 3 days.
Yeah. So lo and behold, another day, another Willy Adames home run, because this guy was absolutely on another planet this last weekend.
Yeah.
He was, man, I don't know what to say about him. We're going to have some contract talks in the offseason about him, and it's going to be tough if he leaves, but at this very moment in time, I'm just going to appreciate him for everything that he is because he's a Brewer right now.
I'm really glad you brought that up because I said something similar to somebody yesterday. When I shared the updated graphic for the Willy Adames with 2 runs on, and the first comment that it was wonder where he plays next year. Who cares?
He's here now.
He's playing for the Brewers now. Enjoy it. We'll worry about his contract in December. Let's have fun now.
Yeah. And I'll talk about that later. But, going to the pitching, Myers is a rookie. people may have forgot about that when he was just going 8 innings and 8 scoreless innings and 6 innings with 1 run and no walks and 10 strikeouts. And they may have forgot that, but in the shuffle of everything in real life, he is a rookie. So he's going to have his ups and downs still. Koenig picked him up 1 inning of scoreless ball, and then Wilson, Brewers ended up losing this game in 11, right?
Yep.
Adames hit a homer. Perkins got an RBI. Turan got his 52nd RBI and his 40th stolen base. So congratulations to him joining the 40 stolen bases club. But do you want me to give my little tidbit right now, or do you want me to wait? I'm gonna give it right now. So I saw people. I saw it was only 3 people that I saw, but it was still mind-boggling to me that they had this mindset. They were like, "Oh man, how do you lose to the Reds?" I'm like, "Oh my God, you guys just bitch about everything." So I wanted to look up their record versus the Reds for the last 5 years. So over the last 5 years, they played 77 games versus the Reds. They have won 49 of 77 games. 49! That is a 64 win percentage. You do that math over an entire season, it's about 103 wins. That would be a lot of fun. That's a little perspective for anybody who wanted to complain about 1 loss in a 4-game series, by the way.
Oh, that's awesome. In 3 days, and 2 of them went into extras.
Yeah, in 3 days.
Shout out to Gary Sanchez for his good defense to get a runner at second base on a missed bunt attempt. They were kind of trying to do a bunt and run. And Gary Sanchez caught the runner at second.
Mm-hmm.
Good job there. Tobias Myers, he gave up some hard contact early. It did a really good job striking out Ellie De La Cruz twice. It's good to see. But he finished 5 2/3 innings, 8 hits, 4 walks, and none of them scored. That was the thing I wanted to look at. None of the walks that he gave up scored. Gave up 3 runs, 2 of them were earned, and had 7 strikeouts. Just not his best command day, is what it is. And like you said, he's a rookie. Mm-hmm. Willie Adames, 4 home runs in 4 games in 3 days is ridiculous. And obviously we know that extends. But then this game became Bryce Wilson versus Brent Suter. Did not have that on my bingo card. But Bryce Wilson, I think he pitched well. He got beat by the ghost runner. He gave 3 2/3 innings, 2 hits, no walks, 2 strikeouts, and 1 unearned run. Yeah. And the bottom line is that he helps the bullpen for Monday by not having to use another reliever.
Yep.
So to Bryce Wilson and Brent Suter's credit, they had the top 2 win probability added for their teams.
Interesting.
So this game became a bullpen game, and obviously with it going into extra innings, they contributed the highest win probability to their teams. Now, I want to say this game, Wade Miley was interviewed during one of the innings, and 2 things I took away from that quick interview. One, he was joking that Brandon Woodruff is going to retire before him because of how much he loves the game. That's how he talks. That's how he felt. And I really appreciated that from Wade Miley, because this is one of those things that we talk about a lot, and something that we've posted videos about, we've made videos about, we've talked about it on Wednesdays. The Brewers have guys that want to be here. The Brewers have guys that love baseball.
Yeah, that makes for a good locker room, good chemistry.
And culture. That's what it is.
Yeah.
And then the other thing that stood out to me that I thought was funny was Wade Miley says that Jackson Chourio calls him abuela, calls him grandpa. So Jackson Chourio calls Wade Miley grandpa, and that is hilarious and awesome, and I love that. So let's go to the Cardinals series. Game 1 against the Cardinals. Freddie Peralta, his fastball command looked good. He was landing his curveball for strikes. He did have a couple walks that kind of inflated his pitch count a little bit. Some of them maybe shouldn't have been, walks, but it is what it is. He finished 5 1/3, 6 hits, 2 walks, 3 earned runs, 3 strikeouts, which is a little low for him. But if he's pitching effectively, he doesn't really care about strikeouts, and I don't really care about him either if you're getting guys out. I don't care how.
Mm-hmm.
Offensively, Willie Adames, just unreal. 5 home runs in 5 games in 4 days. He tied Ken Griffey Jr. for the most 3 home run games in a season. Ken Griffey Jr. sent him like a congratulations video and a video saying that records are made to be broken. So I'm really excited to see if Willie Adames, if and when he does break that record, excited to see what Ken Griffey Jr. has to say about it. And I thought that was a really cool thing for him to do. He also tied a franchise record with 5 games in a row with home runs.
Yeah, he did.
Also, the Brewers added 3 more 2-out runs. They made a starter throw 26 pitches in the inning, and Willie Adames extended his hit streak to 11. So a lot of things going on with that home run that Willie Adames hit.
Mm-hmm.
Also offensively, the bottom of the third, at one point, the Cardinals starter threw 9 straight balls, and the only thing I could think of was Texas A&M. That was the only thing I could think of. If you don't know what I'm talking about, if you're like, why are you thinking about Texas A&M if you're talking about balls? After 4 straight balls, they just start chanting and throwing their hand out and just saying 4, 4, 4. If you throw another ball, then they go 5, 5, 5 every single pitch until you throw a strike. Yep. Seriously, look it up. It's hilarious. It's awesome, and I would love to be there to see it in person one time.
I would love to do it. I'm not even an Aggies fan.
Dude, it would be fun. Like, I'm sitting in there wearing all red. You know, I got my Wisconsin hat in, and I'm just like 7, 7, 7. Like, it's a fun thing. It's a funny thing, and it's one of the things that like makes them them. But it was the only thing I could think of when he threw 8 straight balls and then a 9th one. I'm like 9, 9, 9. And I'm like Texas A&M. That's just intrusive thoughts winning there, I guess. So Jackson Chourio at one point had 3 plate appearances and had drawn 3 walks. Now we keep talking about how well he's doing over the second half of the season. And one of the things that really impresses me with Jackson Chourio is how rapidly his plate discipline has improved in like a massive amount.
Yeah. Like
his plate discipline has I feel like doubled in effectiveness in a super quick amount of time.
Yeah.
It's honestly that probably the most impressive thing about him because his production is all a stem of that.
That's fair. That is completely fair.
Joe Ross just continuing his bullpen dominance. And just as far as the team goes for pitching, the Brewers allowed 11 base runners to the Cardinals. There was 5 hits and 6 walks, I believe. The Cardinals only had 2 at-bats with runners in scoring position, and they were 0 for 2. So one of the things that I've talked about a lot with pitching is not letting your opponents stack traffic. And I've talked about that with the Brewers, about stacking traffic. The Brewers did not let the Cardinals do that. So that was a takeaway for me on Monday. So, Jake, what's it out to you from Monday's game?
Yeah, so you start out with the 3-run homer, right, from Adames. Gotta say, maybe my favorite part from it, aside from him tying the record and hitting his 29th home run on his 29th birthday, which was sweet, the call by Jeff Levering on the television cast, that mama's the Mia.
Yeah,
that definitely mama's the Mia. He says, baseball, go, God. I'm like, oh, dude, that was such a good call, dude. The excitement built up in that, the moment, everything, that was perfection. That was what makes baseball beautiful right there, was the call, the play, the crowd. A great crowd, by the way. Good job, Brewers fans. You guys showed out on Labor Day. And then Hoskins hits a freaking laser of a 2-run homer. So we get a 3-run homer, a 2-run homer, and then we get to a grand slam. There's so much to unpack with this, so I'm going to try my very best. First of all, there's rumors of Chourio going up to Frankie Montas in the dugout and saying, I'm going to get in at bat and I'm going to hit a home run. He goes up there, and lo and behold, this goddamn kid who could do everything on a baseball field, this guy might be a 10-tool player because he does everything twice as good as everybody else, hits a grand slam 420 feet. And then he just points at the dugout with the biggest smile on his face. And again, we get to a great call. This one on the radio. We have a kid who has the potential to be the GOAT player in our franchise by a call from our radio GOAT, our play-by-play announcer GOAT. And it's just one of the coolest moments that you could ever appreciate as a Brewers fan, as a baseball fan. A 20-year-old kid hitting a grand slam, his second grand slam this year. He tied a record. I think he tied like 4 other people as the youngest players to hit a grand slam. But just 420 feet. He's got his bobblehead day coming up. I mean, September 8th, by the way, is going to be off the chain, by the way. If you're going to go there, the first pitch is going to be crazy. You're going to get a bobblehead. Churrio's probably going to hit a home run. It's going to be a crazy day. I'm not going to be there because it's the start of NFL Sunday, and that's when my church season starts. So I'm just letting you know. But absolutely fun game. Adames gets a 99 RBI. Churrio gets the 67 RBI, 18 home runs. Hoskins up to 23. So the Brewers pretty soon, after we're going to talk about it now, Churrio might be the 4th player to hit 20 home runs for the Brewers pretty soon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, let's go right into it. Let's go to last night's game.
Last night's game was a head scratcher, but I have a very like baseball goddish thing to bring up with it. The thing that I'm going to say about last night's game is it's going to end up being one of those games where you lose it, and you have. I'm just going to say a number. In baseball, you probably have about 20 of these. I'll say 15 to 20 of these games where you go and you're just like, damn it, we should have won that game. We let that one slip away. But when you play 162 of them, I mean, really, 20 is a very tiny percentage of that.
It's one of those things where you're on like a singular day and you're like, dude, 15 games seems like this big.
Yeah.
And then you talk about 162 of them being played, and it's like, okay, yeah, it's much more like this.
Yeah. And, the thing that averages out is you're going to win a bunch of games that you're not supposed to win.
Exactly.
Right? You're going to win 15 to 20. So then that number just evens out. And the Cardinals just came to play yesterday. They got 9 hits. I do want to give credit to, I think his first name is Mason Wynn, right?
Mason Wynn, yeah.
Yeah, dude,
that
guy,
shortstop.
He's a stud, dude.
Dude, the NL Central, like 3 years from now, is going to have crazy shortstops everywhere.
Yeah.
There's going to be O'Neal Cruz, Ellie De La Cruz, if he stays there, Cooper Pratt, Mason Wynn. Like, the Cubs better get themselves like a stud, insane, super young shortstop, or they're going to like fall behind.
Well, and then, you just think in general of the talent in the NL Central. I mean, you got Paul Skeens in this division.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we got Contreras, who needs to be in the conversation, by the way. We got Contreras. We got Churrio. I mean, we don't even know what Garrett Mitchell's going to turn into. Joey
Ortiz, Bryce Harang.
I mean, we got so many young guys on our team, and then the Cubs, they actually have a lot of young talent as well. Then you go to the Cardinals. The Cardinals are always good, so they're always wheeling and dealing. So, I mean, the NL Central is in a good spot. Now, the records overall might not be great, and the Brewers are kind of running away with the division, but there's a lot of young, crazy talent in this division right now where it could be the best division of baseball within the next 2 years.
I can see that. I will give respect and then a pump the brakes to Cubs fans. Pete Crow Armstrong is playing really well lately.
Yeah.
He's not better than Jackson Churrio. He's not close to being better than Jackson Churrio. Stop saying dumb shit. That's why people don't respect your opinions. Sorry.
I don't know why there has to be a discussion.
Just say that your guy's playing really well. Don't make it about us. That's weird.
Yeah, I would. Dude, you know what that is? That's Bears behavior.
It is, absolutely.
You guys literally cannot talk about your own team without mentioning us. You realize that we just went an hour on this show talking about how good Jackson Churrio is, and not for one goddamn second did I think about the Cubs.
Not once.
I was just like, damn, he's 20 and he's on our team. I love that for us.
Yeah. Yep.
I didn't go, I love that for us, and Chicago hates that.
Yep.
It was just
he's better than anybody Chicago's got. Yep. Yeah, I didn't have that. That's fair.
Just stop. So maybe just like shut the fuck up like halfway through your sentence. That'd be a good idea. Just my opinion. Yeah. I'm gonna let you go. I didn't have much on last night's game. Just kind of a stinker game.
This is a weird thing. The strike zone was apparently a suggestion zone.
Yeah.
That was weird. We are 1 home run away from Jackson Churrio having a 20-20-20 season. So 20 home runs, 20 doubles, 20 stolen bases at 20. He's going to do 20-20-20 at 20.
Insane.
That's absolutely wild. Ashby was very good again. Everyone in the bullpen pitched well until, unfortunately, Elvis Peguero. did struggle with inherited runners, pretty much out of options in the bullpen at that point. It was basically Elvis Peguero and Hobie Milner, who both have struggled this season with inherited runners. Just is what it is. It just kind of came down to those are the guys you have left. Now, my bottom line was to just win the series tonight. That's what I thought of after this game was over. Now, Willie Adames didn't have a home run, but he did have a clutch hit in the bottom of the 11th. This extended his hitting streak to 12, gave him his 100th RBI, and I think it was a mix of the baseball gods and the Cardinals' devil magic that made this game go into extra innings, even though the Cardinals won anyways, for Willie Adames to get his hit streak extended and his 100th RBI on a really great diving attempt. Like Ciani, he almost made the play of the game. Would have respected it if he had caught it. He definitely dropped it. It was confirmed. It wasn't even like a play stands. It was confirmed that he dropped it. Fantastic effort. Great job for him. But whether it's Cardinals devil magic or the baseball gods, Willie Adames extended his hitting streak and got his 100th RBI, which is a career high for him, with this game going into extra innings. So if this game doesn't go into extras, that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
So there's that. Just win the series tonight, and that's all we really need. Now, before we move on, I just want to say on the subject of Brian Hudson being sent to AAA. This is a thing that the Brewers are doing intentionally. It's not because of performance. They are noticing that Brian Hudson's velocity has been down, and they're essentially just sending him to AAA because he has options. So Elvis Peguero was sent to AAA. He was down in AAA for 2 weeks. He only threw 4 times in 2 weeks. So he did not pitch very much. And Pat Murphy, he didn't go as far as to say we're sending him down to rest him, but it was like they're sending him down to like lessen his workload, which is basically rest. So they're sending Brian Hudson to AAA to get some rest, to rest up for the playoffs. And like I mentioned briefly, most Brewers fans understood that, and that does make me happy that most people were able to recognize that part of perspective and be like, oh, they're sending him down because he has options, and they can just let him sit at AAA, pitch a couple times a week just to stay in the game, and then also just have some time to not have to pitch, every other day. He can just pitch once every 3 or 4 days, and be rested and ready to go for the playoffs. So, Dennis, you are welcome. So the Brewers, they have tonight against the Cardinals. They are off tomorrow. Then they have Friday through Sunday against the Rockies. And then they have Tuesday, the first game of the 3-game series in San Francisco. So those are the 5 games that we will have next Wednesday. Other than that, is there anything else you want to say on the Brewers?
No, just keep doing what you've been doing. Actually, there is something I have to say. I forgot to bring it up. So I saw a video pop up from MLB.com this week, and this was before last night's game. Forgot to bring this up. I apologize. But the video was them breaking down the Brewers and if they're a real threat to the NL and the World Series. And one of the commentators, don't remember his name, I apologize, was sitting there, and he said, if you think about all the great players in today's game, what do they all do? They all hit for power. They steal bases. They play defense. Like, we talk about the 5-tool players all the time. The Brewers have essentially built a 5-tool team.
Oh.
And that's the way that they play. I was like,
I like that.
I was like, this man just cooked right now. I was like, I'm very sad as a Brewers fan. I never thought of that. But they run the bases well. They're second in MLB in base running efficiency. They play defense. We know the bullpen ERA. We know the starter ERA. The starters have been fantastic for everybody that we've lost. Losing Woody and Burns in the beginning of the season.
And Adrian Hauser. Just throwing that out there.
Yeah. And Wade Miley. So to be in the position that we're in right now, I mean, fantastic work. And then to have these young guys just performing the way that they are. And you can say whatever you want about the Bryce Terangs where he's cooled off a little bit. He's still playing fantastic. He is by far the best defensive second baseman in baseball. If he doesn't win the Gold Glove, I'm going to be just as pissed about that as if Murphy doesn't win Manager of the Year.
No, I'll be way more upset if Murphy doesn't win Manager of the Year than if Terang doesn't win the Gold Glove.
Oh, dude, I'm going to be pissed about both because they both deserve it.
There are good second basemen in the National League, but there is not. The Dodgers and the Phillies do not have a manager that has exceeded expectations by as much as the Brewers have.
That's fair. That's fair. But I mean, just tremendous work by the analysts calling that out.
Yep.
Tremendous work by the Brewers all the way around. And Murphy, just keep clicking the right buttons, man, because you're doing tremendous right now.
All right. Love that. Let's switch over. We're going to switch to football. When Mike is ready, we will bring him in as well. But we're going to start on the defensive side of the ball, recapping the Western Michigan game. Now, there's a lot of people that were freaking out during, partially during and after this game, up until today, like up to the minute, people freaking out that the Badgers only won this game by 14, and they only won it because of a lucky punt bounce, and they only won it because Western Michigan is a MAC team. Like, people need to chill out. Let's have the conversations. I think the more that I looked into this game, the better I felt about it going forward. So, Jake, you have the D-line. Talk to me about the D-line on defense.
Yeah, so the defensive line, as we're watching this game, we did a watch party for this one on our Patreon for anybody that wants to, help us, donate $5 to us and watch the game with us, talk with us, just guys being dudes. That's really what we're trying to sell here, is just guys being dudes watching the game together. I'm talking about the Badgers only running a 3-man front and how much easier it is to double team to get up to the linebackers. So as the D-line, you have to take up one or more blockers. You have to either penetrate a gap or you have to take up multiple blockers, right? And for the most part, the Badgers, they did a pretty good job. 33 carries, 120 yards, 3.6 yards per carry. They did give up 2 rushing touchdowns, but, man, they worked for those rushing touchdowns, especially the first one. That one got to a 4th down, and then we called a timeout on the first 4th down, and then they ended up scoring on the next one after we called the timeout to kind of set something up. But, I mean, honestly, pretty good stuff. We had 1 sack. Eli Hills had the sack. I said on the live cast, I was like, that was not on my bingo card for him to be the first sack of the year. Definitely would not have picked him, but hey, he got it. So congrats to Eli Hills. Great job on that play. We had 5 pressures. Eli Hills, Daryl Peterson had 2, John Pius had 1, and Aaron Witt had 1. They had 6 run stops, and they had 10 tackles in run defense and 6 tackles in pass defense as just a defensive line. So good job by them getting those tackles. And Aaron Witt, one of the run stops that he had, one of the tackles that he had was the biggest stop of the game. So congrats to him. The D-line showed out, did exactly what I wanted them to do in game 1. Now they got to stack a good performance on top of a good performance, and that's how you become an elite unit.
For sure. So I have the linebackers looking at it. Western Michigan ran 53 plays. Wisconsin, for comparison, ran 84 plays. So big difference there. And I think there are other things that we'll talk about when we get to the offensive side of the ball to really kind of quell some of the freaking out that's going on. But on the linebackers, there were 4 missed total tackles for the Badgers. 2 of them were by the linebackers. Not bad at all. The depth is a little bit still of a question mark for the Badgers linebackers, even though this was a group that we were excited about. Now, Christian Allegro combined with Aaron Witt for one of the biggest plays of the game, that stop on 4th down. Christian Allegro, to his credit, and again, we've talked about this with other teams, we don't put a lot of stock in the PFF grades. It's really just more of a guideline thing. We don't say like, oh my God, this guy was the highest graded. Like, we don't put a ton of stock into it, but it's a measuring stick. And Christian Allegro was the 2nd highest graded player on the Badgers defense. Do you want to take a stab? It's in Mike's section who the 2nd highest graded was, or the 1st highest graded. Sorry, the 1st.
Probably the guy that had 0 targets. Holman?
No, it was not Ricardo Holman.
How is it not Holman? Nobody threw at him. That should be like 100 grade as a corner, dude.
Apparently, this is why we don't put stock into this in PFF. He was targeted once, didn't give up a reception, and that was it. Like, I don't know what else you expect him to do. But apparently he's PFF's number 12 graded coverage player and PFF's number 12 graded offense or defensive player. Number one is Xavier Lucas for the interception that he had.
Could have probably guessed that because he had a crazy catch.
But looking at stops, now this is a thing that's classified. When we talk about stops, it's classified as a first down and getting less than 40% of the line to gain. So this would be like holding them to 4 or less on first down. Second down, less than 50% of the line to gain. So if it's second down and 6, letting them get less than 3 yards. And then third down, not allowing a first down or a touchdown. Wisconsin had 23 stops in 53 plays.
Nice.
Plus 7 incompletions. That's 30 out of 53 plays. Essentially, the way that I look at it is Wisconsin won 56.6% of their plays versus Western Michigan's offense.
I like that.
I'd like it to be even a little bit higher, but honestly, I don't have a ton of complaints on that.
Yeah.
So it didn't seem like it that there was much pressure, but the Badgers did have 11 pressures on 21 dropbacks, and that is a high pressure rate. It's basically 50% of dropbacks that there was pressure on the quarterback. And I understand that not all 11 happened on different plays. Like pressures can happen by multiple players on the same play, so it's not a perfect 11 plays had pressures on them, but there were 11 pressures during 21 dropbacks. So take that for what it is. Now, I'm going to bring Mike in right before I go to him, but I'm going to say one last thing just on this game as a whole. If this game goes that the Badgers score 14 and they start this game 14-0, and then Western Michigan scores and it's 14-7, and then Wisconsin scores another 14 and it's 28-7, and then Western Michigan scores another 7 and this game ends 28-14. If these points are scored in a different order but the same number of points, I don't think people are freaking out as much. And the other thing is seeing people being like, "Ooh, they were predicted to win by 23.5. They only won by 14." I don't really care. I really don't care. I don't care about your Vegas spread. I don't care. I don't care how much Vegas should win by. Vegas says they should win by, because at the end of the year, their record is calculated by wins and losses, not wins and losses against the spread.
You want to know what betting is becoming? It's becoming like how fantasy football is, where people are like, "Oh, this guy stinks," and it's just like their personal feelings because he only had like 15 points when you're supposed to have 20 in fantasy football, and they lose their game because of that. That's what betting is.
So I'm going to say this is, I'm not saying that the game was good, but people need to chill out. Saying dumb shit like, "Oh, this is barely counts as a win," or "Does it really feel like a win? Did we really win though?" Yes, they scored more points than their opponent. They are 1-0 in wins and losses. Like, stop saying dumb shit just because it didn't go to your expectations.
I agreed.
Mike, what do you think about the secondary?
The secondary, okay. Well, first off, I was gonna say like overall, right? Everything go as planned? No, absolutely not. But as Coach Fickle pointed out last year when he took the job, and this year in fall camp, what quarter did the Badgers win in? Ultimately, overall last game.
Yep.
Most important one.
Fourth quarter. That was a problem last season. A big problem. Just losing the fourth quarter when we were in games. And there's one thing, just looking back at it, again, did everything go as planned? Absolutely not. We won the fourth quarter. We actually smoked the other team in the fourth quarter, if we're going to be honest. So that's one thing I go back to at the end of the day. Not even
I said if the Badgers play the way that they did over the last 12 minutes, then I'm perfectly fine.
Yeah.
That was what I said.
Sorry if you guys covered that already. I just that's the one stat I really wanted to get out there. But I mean, the secondary overall, it wasn't really tested too much, I guess, in the grand scheme of things. There were 5 plays of 12 yards or more in this game, 3 of which were over 20. So, but nothing went deep or anything. It was kind of like on short passes, and they kind of got through. But starting off with their boy, Rico Hallman, didn't get much action at all. I think it said there was one pass maybe thrown in his direction somewhat, but that was about it. So in 37 snaps, didn't really show too much, but that's just credit to him for his skill set. So, a big call out too was our boy Hunter Wohler as well. The 53 snaps that he had 7 total tackles. He was just a menace.
That's what he does, dude.
Surprise, surprise. Nice year, had a decent night. 7 total tackles as well. His presence was felt. Just to jump right to it. The play of the night. I am going to say play of the night here on the secondary. It was our boy. He's a true freshman this year. We talked about him a lot in fall camp, and that he would be out on the field in some capacity. It was a one-handed interception by our boy Xavier Lucas at the end. I told you guys I must have watched that replay about 10 separate times because I was in awe of what happened. That wasn't just a college catch either. That would have held up in the NFL as well, mind you. But he got both feet in that one-handed play. Just wanted to throw that out here. Just more credit to him. But I love his future with this program. He's in the 2 deep again this week, and I think he's going to have more than 7 snaps. I think than he got in the first game. I think that could potentially double. So that's just something to watch out here for. And then I was also going to say, I think if there's one thing that I think the Badgers got better in this first game from last year was missed tackling. The only one that really kind of stood out, just like going back on it. I know we gave up a 3rd and long. It was Austin Brown missed tackle. It was like a 3rd and 10 or something like that. But you know what? He made up for that later on in the game, and I'm not going to mention it from the rest from here. But I'll let somebody else fill in the blank for that. But overall it was good. Looking pretty solid. I think going into the South Dakota game, I don't know if it could be the same. Potentially going off of what South Dakota did the first game too. So guess we're going to see what happens.
All right, so let's bridge the gap. Let's go to special teams. Jake, what did you think about special teams?
Yeah, not much to really talk about. We only had 1 punt, so that is great. I hope I only see him 1 or 0 times every single game. Fantastic job, offense. Keep him off the field. Atticus, I'm sure you are a tremendous young man, but I do not want to see you on the field for the Badgers. Tretch had 3 returns.
Of course.
What's that?
Said respectfully, of course.
Respectfully, yes. Tretch had 3 returns for 62 yards. He had one where I thought he was going to break it, and he ended up getting smacked, actually. I think in his head he thought he was about to break that too.
So I said this, and I can just toss this out there because Mike just said something about doubling Xavier Lucas's snaps. I would like for Tretch Kakuna's snap count to also double. Just let Vinny Anthony handle the returning.
Yeah,
let's use Tretch on offense. Let's let Vinny Anthony handle the return game.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah. To talk about Nathan Vakos, 2 for 3 on field goals. His long was 33 yards. He made both extra points. He missed what some people would consider a chip shot, but to remind everybody, those hash marks in college are very wide.
Yep.
Now, the goalposts are a little wider too, but they're not as exaggerated as the hash marks are in the NFL game. So kicking from the far left or the far right is absolutely a difficult thing to do in the college game. Now, you would in a real world, you would like him to be 3 for 3 and make everything 40 and under, right? He's still a kid. Okay.
Yep.
We're going to give him a pass. It's week 1. Let him hit the rust off and we'll see what happens. I'm not going to kill him for missing 1 field goal. It is what it is. He made 2 and he made both extra points. I can't complain too much.
Yeah, that's fine. Okay. Jake, going back to you for the offensive line.
The offensive line was better than I thought it was going to be, in my opinion. I think they absolutely carried this offense in the second half specifically. I think they were pretty good overall. They averaged 4.3 yards per carry for the game. The running backs did, but you can't run the ball without the offensive line, right? I mean, that's just period. So 4.3 is not bad. They ran the ball 44 times for 205 yards and 3 touchdowns. So that's a fucking handful. There's a couple of moments in this game where the offensive line absolutely demolished the front 7 of Western Michigan. And it was like, whoa, they're pushing them 3 yards down the field. And I'm like, Jesus, boys. They gave up 6 pressures, 2 by Joe Brunner, 1 by Tawi Walker. Walker had a tough day blocking. Riley Mahlman gave up 1. Huber and Jack Nelson gave up 1. Brunner gave up 2 hurries. Walker gave up a hurry. Mahlman gave up a hurry, and Jack Nelson also gave up 1 hurry. There was 1 sack given up, and only 1 penalty. It was on Jake Renfro. The thing I will say about that, and Mikey can attest to this. Sometimes the centers just like to play with the ball. Okay, they just like to fidget with it, move it a little bit before the snap. They're just getting a feel for it. Maybe he's amped up. Maybe it was going to be a dive play. I don't know what was going to happen. The dude was just juiced. He thought he was going to kill a middle linebacker on that play or something. So I'm going to get past on that because I thought Jake Renfro was the best offensive lineman last game. He was getting to the second level consistently. He was passing off D tackles consistently. I rewatched the game, and I was just hyper-focusing on the O-line. I was like, I got to watch these. I got to watch these boys. And Jake Renfro was tremendous. So if he continues that, I think, Mikey, you have a lot of stuff to stand on talking about how Jake Renfro is going to make a big difference for this O-line. You were talking about that a lot the last couple of weeks. So hopefully that stands true, but I thought he was the best O-lineman last week.
Yeah, and I think his penalty, correct me if I'm wrong, it was basically he was trying because he thought there was a 12th guy running off the field.
Yeah,
for Western Michigan. That was right at close to the end zone, correct?
Yep, that was
I think
like
in
close
that
to
play,
the red zone.
There's a player for Western Michigan that was trying to rush off the field. I think that he was looking at that, and I think he was kind of trying to make something happen. I guess.
Yeah, I think he outsmarted everybody else in the field.
I'm pretty sure. I can look at that too, but I think that's what it was. To be honest, and looking at it's like, damn, good try.
Yeah, but they give centers false starts all the time for playing with the ball and doing the.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Stuff. Yeah, so I give centers a pass and that kind of stuff. It's like the ref can kind of decide how much of a douche he wants to be.
Yeah,
that's the same thing with holding. Like people are like, "Oh, holding penalties." It's like there's holding on every single play.
There on every single play. Now the egregious ones where they're around the neck and stuff.
Right,
you gotta call that.
Or you see a jersey go like this.
Yeah, I mean, come on.
Yeah.
You got to let some of that go because the defense is pushing on their neck and stuff. O-line is not a pretty position to play.
No. They call it the trenches for a reason.
That is terrible to play.
As far as the passing game is concerned, I'd like to see, and I know this was a big point of contention. Steve, if you're watching, I know you brought this up a lot about not going downfield. I know a lot of people brought up the Badgers not taking deep shots. So I do agree to a point. I would like to see Tyler Van Dyke's average depth of target go up, but it doesn't have to be a ton. In this game, his average depth of target was 6.4 yards. Just 2 or 3, honestly. The average depth of target, if it goes up by 2 or 3 in that 8 to 9 range, I'm fine with it there. Mm-hmm. To that point, last season in 2023, J.J. McCarthy's average depth of target was 9.4, and Caleb Williams' average depth of target was 9.2. So it doesn't have to be, like an 11 or 12 yard per yard per attempt average depth of target. If he's just in that 8-9 range, I'm good there. So while yes, I would like to see the Badgers take some more deep shots, it doesn't have to be a crazy amount, honestly. Mm-hmm. We saw, Jake and we're going to have some play breakdowns coming out. Tyler Van Dyke did some really good things in the passing game. Jake and I brought up some of the specific plays from it. My only real complaint about Tyler Van Dyke is to not try to throw for 5 yards on 3rd and 7.
Yeah.
That was my big thing. Also, in the red zone, see if one of your wide receivers can win a one-on-one. That's, the red zone thing was one of the things that we'll potentially need to see as an improvement. But, all in all, pass game, the wide receivers and the tight ends were all over 10 yards a catch, except for Bryson Green, who averaged 9.8 yards per catch. Mm-hmm. Looking at it, yes, Tyler Van Dyke, I think he needs some better blocking. Yes, I think he made a couple questionable throws. One of the quote-unquote almost interceptions that he had was on what I would say is not even a bad throw, but it was Riley Nowakowski and Will Pauling were both heading towards the sideline, and Riley Nowakowski fell down. Mm-hmm. And his defender turned around and was able to essentially go and double Will Pauling because his offensive assignment was on the ground. So he's not in the position to get a hand on that ball if Riley Nowakowski doesn't fall down. So Jake and I talked about that play. You'll be able to see the video of that when that goes up. But other than that, also dealt with some drops. So if you look at plays where Tyler Van Dyke was kept clean, he was 17 for 27 for 160 yards. That's a 63% completion percentage. If you add in the drops on that, you essentially can call him 20 for 27, which would be 74%. So if those 3 drops don't happen, we're talking about Tyler Van Dyke completing 74% of passes. I don't understand what there's to complain about.
One other thing we need to note, he was really, really, really good on third down.
Touche. That's a good point, and I will make sure I do better at getting numbers like that. So as I mentioned, the wide receivers and the tight ends all had 9.8 yards per reception or more. The only 3 that didn't in the passing game were Ches Malusi, CJ Williams, Ches Malusi, Tawi Walker, and Jackson Aker. They were all 5.5 yards per reception or under, which makes sense because those are backfield players.
Mm-hmm.
Ches Malusi, CJ Williams, and Will Pauling had 1 drop each. I don't have any hesitation throwing them the ball the next time the ball goes their way. Will Pauling, his first target was dropped, and then he finished with 6 catches on his next 9 targets. So good job of him. I know I'm super high on Trech Kekahuna. I know I am, and I have been since the LSU game last year. I want to see him on the field more. So whether it's letting Vinny Anthony do kick returning, letting Tyrell Henry do kick returning, put Trech in at wide receiver more. He had 11.3 yards per reception on his 3 catches. He had the highest receiving grade on the Badgers, and he had the highest offensive grade on the Badgers. The second highest offensive grade, Tyler Van Dyke.
Well, the only problem with Trech getting on the field more is he plays the same position as Will Pauling. They're both.
See, I don't care.
So
put them both on the field.
You're going to have to call a little bit more 4 wide receiver sets and kind of have them both in, because Trech isn't a good enough wide receiver right now to play outside, and you're not going to take Will Pauling out of the slot. Now,
I would be okay with that. I would be okay with lining Will Pauling up on the outside. I'm not saying, permanently. I'm not saying to start both of them.
Yeah.
But in the sake of getting more of your best players on the field, right now I would rather see more Trech Kekahuna than, say, CJ Williams.
And that's an argument to be had, but I think you go more towards like play style and right. Formation style, and you go more towards that bunch set, which again we talk about in the video, where that's an area where you can bunch set and you can have Pauling and Trech right next to each other. Who the hell do you take in that situation?
Yeah. And that's why I bring this up. Like Vinny Anthony, he played 46 snaps. Will Pauling obviously played more, and Bryson Green because they're the starters. But Vinny Anthony played 46 snaps. CJ Williams played 34 snaps, and then it's Trech Kekahuna who only played 17 snaps. So I think I just think he needs more playing time.
Yeah, no, I agree.
I think he will get more. I seriously, I mean, it doesn't take.
He's electric, and his 2-point conversion doesn't even count towards his receptions.
So how did it count as 4, or did they only give him 3?
It only counts as 3 because a 2-point conversion is considered like an extra point try.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So that doesn't count towards their passing and receiving stats.
Okay. Yep.
Last thing I have on the passing game, Tyler Van Dyke, 16 for 21 in the middle of the field. That's 76%. For 127 yards. That was 66% of his yardage total on 58.3% of his passing attempts.
Not bad.
So Tyler Van Dyke, very efficient in the middle of the field.
Yeah.
All right. Mike, you have the running game. What stood out to you from the running game against Western Michigan?
Yeah, I'm just going to throw a couple of these stats out there because it kind of like sums all this up. So like Pro Football Focus, this is the first fun fact I had. Pro Football Focus had 44 of Wisconsin's 84 plays were in 11 personnel, which is interesting because, when I think of that, you're basically trusting like your tight ends a bit more. I think that's more like accustomed to like the run game too, ultimately. And I said even going into this year, I think the run game, we're going to be running the ball more than pass ultimately. And, I think looking after this first game, it's trending towards that direction. But that was one big thing I wanted to call out. Another big part was this is more of a team concept here too. Last year's, batter squad, how many times did we go 3 and out with that team? It happened a bunch, right? Time of possession became a huge factor. This last game, we had 0 3 and outs. on Friday, which call it methodical if you want to, but I thought it was It's interesting because last year there were so many times we got off the field immediately. And this first game, I mean, it's heading in the right direction, right? You're moving the ball. That's what you want. You know, it was 14, 15, 16 play drives. So, you know, I want to throw that out there. But anyway, going into the running backs, man, at first impressions after this first game, I don't know if we're going to have any burners necessarily, but I tell you what, we have dudes that have no problem running over other dudes to get from point A to point B. They ran so hard, all three of them, whether it's Tawi Walker, Ches Malusi, Katie Akamelli. He was a big surprise because for him, it wasn't just, he got the ball 4 times for 35 yards. He got the ball almost immediately, you could say, right in the first quarter. So, and you could tell he's in Brady Collins' strength and conditioning program. That's for sure. We'll keep it at that. No, he looked great, I thought, when he got the ball. I mean, Tawi Walker got the first 4, carries of the game. Well, one of them was a swing pass, but he got the ball the first 4 plays, which was definitely a little surprising to me the first 4. But, I mean, 15 carries, 66 yards, 1 touchdown, caught 1 body before he got the touchdown. No, between him and Ches Malusi, those dudes have no problem running over other guys to get, like I said, from point A to point B. It was fun to watch. I'm still curious to see if one of them's going to get out in space and just like sprint for like a 50, 60-yard run one of these games. I'd love to see it, but we got Ches Malusi. He had 19 carries, 74 yards, and 1 touchdown. As Jake said before, 4.3 yards per rush total. Overall, I mean, this is a good nucleus, I think, for running the ball. You got guys that have years of experience now, whether it's through different systems or a Wisconsin system. So I can see why we, at least this first game, we trended towards having that 11 personnel in game 1. So I have no problem giving any one of those dudes the ball, to be quite honest, because they're going to be fun to watch and they have no problem running people over. So that was great to see.
You're muted, buddy.
Sorry, I forgot I muted myself because I was coughing. Is there anything else you guys want to say on the subject of the Western Michigan game? Mike, I know you brought up the time of possession. Basically 35 minutes to 25 minutes.
Yeah.
So
you hold on to that time of possession thought there.
Okay. I'll just leave it at that, and I'll just say that it was good. Is there anything else you guys want to say on the Western Michigan game before we switch to South Dakota?
No.
Wins are wins. Be patient. Chill out.
Yes.
Okay. So let's switch to South Dakota. Jake, what are you watching for from the Badgers defense against South Dakota this weekend?
So I took a lot away. I actually did an insane amount of research with that extra day off. Can you imagine if I had every day to do this? Holy crap.
Yeah.
You will one day.
Yeah, I got one day and I was like, dude, I am getting so much information right now. So there was some things I took away, and I said hold on to that time of possession because South Dakota won their game 45-3 and they lost time of possession.
Did they score defensive touchdowns or what?
So it's crazy. They ran the ball like crazy. They ran the ball 38 times for 266 yards. They averaged 7 yards per carry. They also had a kick return of 97 yards that wasn't a touchdown. They had a punt return of 55 yards that wasn't a touchdown. And they forced 3 turnovers.
Okay.
They did everything that you possibly could do to throw under 100 yards and win by 40 points. Everything went their way. They lost time of possession. So the thing that I'm looking for from the defense is you got to control the line of scrimmage and show that this quarterback can beat you. He went 9 of 13 for 85 yards. This grown man went 9 of 13 for 85 yards. And he won a game. He felt good about himself. No, we're not doing that in Madtown, dude. That's not happening in our house. The defensive line, you have to own the line of scrimmage.
Let me just pile on the subject of the running game because I also wrote down that South Dakota ran 38 times for 266 and 7 yards a carry.
We're all talking.
Yeah, I put in there that the linebackers will also need to run stop. And the thing that I said is potentially one less defensive back.
Yeah, and the thing about their run game is it wasn't just one guy. They have two guys that they really trust to give the ball to. That's Charles Pierre Jr., 13 carries, 136 yards, and he had 2 touchdowns. Travis Thies had 12 carries for 86 yards and a touchdown. Now, what I gathered from that is Thies is the short yardage guy. And he's the guy that gets the tough yards. Charles Pierre is the more explosive one. He's only a sophomore. They had 4 players with a rush and 3 players with a rushing touchdown. So, I mean, they were just absolutely like, we're going to hand the goddamn ball off, and this is what's going to happen. So, the Badgers' defensive line, front 7 overall, you have to sell out. You have a guy like a Ricardo Hallman, not to leak in anybody's stuff. You have a guy like Ricardo Hallman, hey, you shut that guy down. He's done, okay? You bring Hunter Wohler close to the line of scrimmage because he wants to be there anyways. He really just is a skinny linebacker at this point. And you put him in the box and you say, tackle the guy with the ball, and then they're done. So
I really don't have a lot to add. I mean, for me, looking at the Western Michigan game and going into this one is that for me, Jaheim Thomas looked good for the most part. I'd like to see a little more out of Chaney, but he showed a couple flashes, especially at the goal line. I feel good about my Christian Allegro dark horse pick. And then we're going to need the linebackers to stop the run. That was pretty much all I have going into the South Dakota game. That's really what I'm looking for from the linebackers is help stop the run. And we'll get into some more of these thoughts coming into here, but and I said maybe just one less defensive back on the field, and Mike can talk to the secondary on it, but maybe put another linebacker on the field to help stop the run, and like Jake said, prove that their quarterback can beat you with the pass. So, Mike, what's the perspective from the secondary?
I mean, yeah, one of my things. Well, I wrote down, even Tyler. It's funny you say that. I wrote down put in Christian Allegro more. He needs more snaps because he looked great. 10 snaps, 3 tackles. I think it was like in his first 4 plays. I think he had 2 of the 4 tackles. So that was good.
And he was in on the 4th down stop. I mean, Jaheim Thomas got a little bit banged up, and Allegro had to play a little bit in some crunch time spots, and I think he did well.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, ultimately what I wrote down, what Jake said, the line of scrimmage is a part of it. I also wrote down, can we get more than 1 tackle for loss? And that can come from anywhere, right?
Sure.
Whether it's, bringing in a corner blitz or something like that. So maybe kind of like what you alluded to with line up Hunter Wohler maybe, or hell, bring in Preston Zachman, switch it up from the secondary, or maybe like a corner blitz or something like that. But I would love to see more than 1 tackle for loss in this next game coming up. Perhaps more than 1 turnover, even though it was kind of game over. I think we could use a more, I guess,
opportunistic defense.
Yeah, more opportunistic defense, because that was an issue last year too, for a bit. So that hopefully it's not trending in that direction. But no, I think the line of scrimmage part, Jake, you hit it on the head. When you got a team that's coming in 38 carries, 266 yards, 4 touchdowns overall, I think we know what they're going to want to do. So, stop the run first and foremost. So I'm looking forward to seeing how we're going to, react to that and what we do.
All right, Jake, what are you looking for from the special teams against South Dakota?
Yeah, so again, I'm going to sound redundant for a second, but Atticus, you just get comfortable on the bench over there. Hand out some popcorn, make some jokes. I mean, hopefully you're a funny guy. I don't know you personally, but you have a great name, so maybe you are funny. I'm not sure. But you just stay over there, okay? Vacos, you make all your kicks. And I thought the kick coverage was fine in week 1, so continue to do that. And I would absolutely love a big-time return. I don't know what it is about kick returns, and the NFL is doing the right thing by changing the kickoff rule because that's one of the most exciting plays in football. There's something about a big kickoff return, so I hope that happens. Now, I did scout South Dakota's special teams a little bit. They use 2 different kickers. One kicker does the field goals, and one kicker does the extra points. I thought that was interesting.
Okay. Badgers are doing that too.
Yeah, we've done that a little bit.
Yeah. But I thought that was interesting that they do that.
So, Jake, now we can go to the offensive side of the ball. Jake, what are you looking for from the O-line?
We have to establish dominance. We are the Wisconsin Badgers. We are O-line U. We are RBU. Let's look like it. Let's act like it, right? The thing about it is They went against Northern State, which I didn't even know was a college. They actually did pretty good running the ball. They won time possession 31-55 to 28-05. They ran the ball 40 times for 147 yards. That's 3.7 yards per carry. You get close to 4 yards per carry on 40 carries. That's pretty damn consistent, in my opinion. Now, obviously, these smaller schools like this, they don't have the offensive talent on the outside to throw the ball crazy, so they have to run the ball, right? So when you know that you're going to run the ball and they run the ball 40 times for 147, that's pretty good. So that shows me the Badgers averaged 4.3 in the last game, and everybody thought that their offense was kind of stinking, right? If they gave up 3.7 yards and 150 yards to a team I didn't even know existed, I think you can understand the standard that I'm trying to talk about here. They ran for 205 last game. They better run for 250 plus this game. That's the standard that I'm setting. So offensive line, you got to carry us. I've seen you guys be dominant at times last week, so do it again.
So in the passing game, like I already mentioned this, I'd like to see Tyler Van Dyke's average depth of target go up, and it doesn't have to be by a ton. And like I mentioned also, just see if one of your wide receivers can win one-on-one.
Yep.
We saw Tretch Kekahuna on the 2-point conversion show some insane athleticism. Throw him a jump ball. See what happens. The thing with like South Dakota, they only faced 11 pass attempts last week. So Jake just talked about it, that Northern State ran the ball a ton. They ran the ball a ton.
Mm-hmm.
So looking at it, with South Dakota only facing 11 passing attempts from the opposing starter last week, 8 of them were completed. That is a high percentage.
That is a high percentage.
So hopefully that Wisconsin can use this game to open some things up in the passing game. Mm-hmm. So, Mike, what are you looking for from the running game?
I mean, a good complementary football. I mean, whether that's just, Ches and Tawi getting the reps, or again, Yakimelli is more than capable of doing it. Maybe we see some freshmen play this week. I sure wouldn't mind it. I know, given to how, not that it necessarily would have mattered in my view, but given how really close the game was in the fourth quarter, I can see why they just kept it as such. But I would really like to, play probably good enough to see some of these freshmen play. So good complementary football. Again, these dudes run hard as hell. Maybe one breaks out for a big game this week, but I got no complaints as far as, watching any of these guys play, right? So just play good complementary football. They had just about the same amount of snaps with Ches and Tawi, that is. And then, sprinkle a little Cade on there too, maybe Jackson Aker if he's out there. But hopefully I'm hoping we get to see maybe all 5 or 6 running backs this weekend, just get an idea of what the future holds at Badger Country.
What a time to be alive that would be, to see 6 running backs have carries.
Yeah. I think it could happen. I think it could happen.
Mike, I'm going to stick with you. Give me your X factor for Saturday.
We've kind of talked about it. I haven't yet, but I would love to see a couple explosive plays, or at least attempts. I feel like, I brought up the word before, but it looked like we were a little, stagnant or methodical, I guess you could say, on Friday with some of our positions. I would just like to see, let's send freaking Will Pauling deep on a fly and just see what happens. You know what I mean? Just take a couple of those deep shots, I feel like, just to open it up a little bit, because, I think this is going to be a great opportunity to test that out. And, there's a reason why we got Tyler Van Dyke, as a starter. A big part of it was because of his arm, right? If not to say it wasn't the worst thing in the world, but I feel like with Friday's game, if that's going to be how we are this year, I don't see why we brought Tyler Van Dyke in. I think Braden Locke can do that sort of like style that we had on Friday. Yeah. I think there's a reason why Tyler Van Dyke's the quarterback, and I think it's because to take some of those potential deep shots that are needed, I think, with this team going into this year. We just got to, test that out. I feel like, I think, again, this is a good audition or a good opportunity to try that out with at least not one, but even a couple of our guys, whether that's Bryson Green with a big body, or you send Will Pauling deep, or you send Tretch deep, because anybody who, guards him gets blown by like all the time. Yep. So I would just like to see that. And then I just go back to, can we just get one more, more than one tackle for loss? I would love to see some more tackles behind the line of scrimmage, whether that's through blitzing or, see another play by Elijah Hills, for example, or another D lineman maybe clutches up. So, I would say that.
All right, Jake, who is your X factor?
My X factor is also Van Dyke. I think that
Did you say Vincent Van Dyke?
No, Tyler Van Dyke.
Okay, I'm losing it. My bad. Sorry.
I don't even know who Vincent Van Dyke is.
Dude, I don't know. I don't know if it was. I don't know.
We'll forgive you, I promise.
So I'm talking Tyler Van Dyke here. So he did a great job, as Tyler pointed out, spreading the ball around. We had 8 players with a catch, so that was tremendous. I do think that we need be a little bit more aggressive on offense, and I think some of that has to do with some of the scheming. So we might have to wait one more week before we see some crazy stuff. But again, if we can get ourselves into second and manageables, third and shorts, I would like us to take a little bit, do some more pre-snap motion like we were doing. We showed a little bit of that in week 1. Take some shots on second and third and shorts. That's what I'm looking for, because that if you're running the ball good, you can hand the ball off and probably manhandle these guys and pick up first downs if you need to. So I would like to see Van Dyke take some shots.
So I went with one of my guys on the defensive side of the ball. I went with Jake Chaney. Like I said, I would like to see more of him because I believed that last year he was one of the most improved players over the course of the season. So I would just like to see Jake Chaney to make his presence known against the run. Okay. Mike, what is your key to the game?
The line of scrimmage, man. I'm bringing it just like last week with how South Dakota, how much they run the ball. That's the first thing that jumps out. I mean, I would love to see one of their receivers even get on the same field with Rico Hallman and go one-on-one and see what happens, right? So we got to stop the line of scrimmage. I mean, did we do an okay job of it last week? Yes. But I would say at this point we are also more vulnerable on that sort of the space right now than we are than in the passing game. So I just want to see I want to see some crazy shit at the line of scrimmage and just establish it at the end of the day. But make our presence felt. That's what I would say going into this one for sure.
All righty, Jake, what's your key to the game?
Badgers dominate line of scrimmage for 60 minutes. That's all I got.
There you go. I mean, there's not. Yeah, that's
wait, Mike. I'm not mad at it. I'm not
Yeah.
mad at you for 1 second. That has to happen.
Yeah.
Okay, can I say the thing that you guys both just said in a different way?
Yeah, sure.
Yes.
Go ahead.
I said dictate the play style.
Ooh, there you go.
Stop their run and exploit with our pass.
That's the writer in Tyler right there.
Yeah.
All right, Mike, give me your first score prediction. We do these scores, one from the head, one from the heart. Head being the more analytical one, score from the heart being the more optimistic if everything goes right. For context, I'm going to use the spread. The Badgers are favored by 12.5. I'm going to take that and now crumple it up and throw it out. Mike, what is your score prediction from the head?
Did you say 12.5? No,
12.5 was the last thing I saw.
Wow, that's
That was
interesting. From the head, I actually got 34-12 Badgers. And with those 12 points, I kind of specifically wrote they're going to get 6 of those with the final 2 to 3 minutes of the game. So, yeah,
All right.
we got to get over 30 points. That's something I feel like that we've struggled to do the last season, even potentially going into this year. We just got to get over 30. I would really love to get over 30 with this team. We got to show offensively. Maybe we'll get a defensive touchdown too. I got to get over 30 points with this team to feel really good, going into Bama next week. So
I'm really sorry, Mike. I have the Badgers scoring 28.
Oh, damn.
I have the Badgers 28-17.
Okay, fair enough.
All right, Jake.
Seems realistic.
I try.
Mine is more on the wavelength of Mike. I think they get a fourth quarter touchdown to kind of make the game look a little bit better as well. But I have 38-14. I have us whooping that ass this week. I think Fickle's going to have the boys ready.
I like it. All right, Mike, what's your score prediction from the heart?
I got 42-10. Yeah, 42-10 from the heart. We need our boys to just like absolutely just go out there and just beat the piss out of.
Yeah.
I am so down. So sign me up
South
for that.
Dakota needs to be the victim.
I'm super down for that. From the heart, I have 35-13. That would be a convincing win that I would feel good about. So that's what I have for my heart. Jake, what do you have from the heart?
Mike, we were so close, dude.
Yeah?
I have 41-10. 41-10.
Oh, no way. Nice.
Yes, dude. I have us getting a couple field goals after we score 5 touchdowns.
Our kicker could use the practice. It's okay.
Two field goals to go with 5 touchdowns. I was like, 41 sounds good. 41-10. We beat that ass. Everybody feels good going into Bama. We're 2-0. Maybe we get ranked. I don't know.
Yeah.
Probably not.
And as we've seen with other teams, being ranked does not matter. Florida State. So being ranked isn't a guarantee of anything. So it's not like Oregon was projected to win by like 49.5 and won by 10. Not like anything like that ever happened in a college football game this weekend. But I'm just I just work here. So thanks guys for joining us. Thanks everybody for commenting along and following along. Before we go, I do just want to say September is Suicide Awareness Month. If you need help, ask for it. Something that I can say as far as what we've done with this show, working with Mental Health America, doing our show from an optimistic and realistic perspective, is having good people around you is tremendously important. And cutting out bad people from around you. It's a tremendously important thing for life. So I can thank Jake and Mike by extension for being around. But Jake is obviously my ride or die best friend that I talk to every single day about everything. Having good people around you is so important. And suicide is a really touchy subject, but it's Suicide Awareness Month, so we wanted to say something about it because we do feel a certain way about it. So I would say have good people around you, and I am glad that I do have good people around me. Jake, I don't know if you wanted to add anything on, or Mike, you as well.
Yeah, so not many people will know, but these two do. Yesterday was my birthday, and I had a moment, and I'm not afraid to admit this. I had a moment where I was like literally brought to tears because I was just so proud of the people that I've surrounded myself with. I have so many, I may not have 10 million followers on social media, but I don't need that because I feel like I have 10 million followers in my life that support me with every step that I take. And I cannot thank you guys enough for everything that you guys do for me. Now, if you guys don't have that feeling, I promise you, I'll do my best. I don't speak for people much, but I know Tyler will be there too. If you guys really need somebody to talk to, if you're really in a tough situation, we'll be there for you. I'm a busy guy. I have kids. I do the podcast. I work a full-time job. Tyler's the same thing. Mike is just on his grown man stuff, scheduling trucks. But if you need help, seriously, we will be there for you. We'll talk to you. We can point you in the right direction. We know people that can help you with stuff like this.
Yep.
Don't end your life over something stupid. Seriously, I've seen too many people in my life, and I'm only 32 now. Now, Tyler calls me grandpa and jokes around about it, but 32 years old, I've seen way too many people end their lives over something that could be dealt with in different ways. So if you guys really need somebody, we're here for you. And thank you to all the people that are there for me. And with that, let's just enjoy sports and be great fans.
Yes, sir.
All righty. All right, we will be back Friday night. If you follow us on Patreon, we will be live Friday night for the watch party for the Packers season opener. That's a thing that's happening.
Oh,
and then
my
we will be
God.
recapping that game next Tuesday. We will have a recap on next Tuesday for the NFL season. It is here. It is back. And then we will be back again next Wednesday with more Brewers and Badgers. So until next Wednesday, next Tuesday, or Friday, we will see you then.
Go Pack, go, baby.